It's depending on whatever part of the world you're tuning in from. I am Nupur. Welcome to my tiny kitchen in Queens where I make curry. And today, I am not making curry. I am making a dessert which is based on carrots. Yep. You know, you've heard of, have you heard of bad hair days, right? We've all heard of bad hair days. Have you heard of bad food days? Like if the food is not that tasty or you're not enjoying what was put out on the table. What is your fix for that, right? So my dad used to say he had a huge sweet tooth, and my dad always said that if the food is good, you need dessert to completely round off the meal. If the food is not so good, you still need dessert because it helps you to forget the trauma of the bad meal. So, going by that philosophy, what I've done is I'm going to create this dessert that's made out of some really simple supermarket ingredients. You'll be surprised at the simplicity of it. But we are going to make a carrot halwa. And halwa is nothing but a reduction of usually some kind of grain, some kind of milk, some kind of ghee, and some kind of sugar. And in my family, they used to say if something has butter and sugar and milk in it and cardamom, like how can it ever be bad, right? So I'm going to make this with carrots, and this is something that's traditionally made in the winter time because carrots are in abundance in the winter in India. But because here there is a practice of eating like a warm brownie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream or warm apple pie with vanilla ice cream. I love to eat a warm carrot halwa with vanilla ice cream or any ice cream, right? So the process that I started was a little while ago. I took a bag of baby carrots and I just sliced them thin. I did not grate them. Like if you have a food processor, traditionally you would scrub the carrots and you would run them through the food processor to make little juliennes or shreds. I didn't do that. I just took them and I boiled the carrots with half a can of evaporated milk. This is a vegetarian recipe. If you are vegan, you can do the same thing with plant based milk or just even water as well. It will work. Half a can of this. All the instructions and the measurements have been posted on Instagram at the 11 o'clock feed that went out announcing this live. So you should be able to catch all the exact measurements from there. Personally, when I cook, I just eyeball everything. So that's just me. Um, and I also encourage cooking by intuition. So if you want to take one of my classes and learn how to cook by intuition, I'll be happy to do that. All the details for that are on my website, www.queenscurrykitchen.com. Alright, jumping right back to the recipe. So all I did was I took half a can of this, 1 pound of baby carrots. I sliced them thinly, and then I added half a teaspoon of cardamom powder. If you don't have cardamom, you can skip it. You can put a bay leaf or you can put a little cinnamon powder, whatever your preference is. But traditionally, it works best with cardamom. And I've actually used my instant pot so that I did not have to babysit or monitor my food. And I boiled it for half an hour. You can do the same thing in a slow cooker. You can leave it overnight and walk away. But I also added a little bit of water because when you have milk based things that you're trying to boil, it tends to stick to the bottom of the pan. So the best thing for you to do is to add just a little bit of water to give it the viscosity that it needs so that it will not stick to the bottom of the pan. And I also added a teeny tiny pinch of Himalayan pink salt. Um, the carrots, as you can see, have released a lot of moisture and they're pretty much floating in this thing, right? So this recipe works in two steps. One, we boil the carrots down with the milk, and so they get that nice, rich depth of flavor from the milk curds. And then the second step is to sear the carrot halwa when it's kind of like almost like a mashed potato consistency. You sear them and give it a final finish with pure ghee and some nuts and some nutmeg. So this happens in two steps. You can do everything in an instant pot, but I'm going to sear it in a pan so that you can see it better. But I think we have to get to the first part where we have to let the liquid evaporate a little bit. Once the carrots were softened, I actually just went in with a potato masher and mashed it down. So that saved me a lot of time when I did not have to do any grating. So I'm the queen of hacks, basically. And all of the things that you see here are easily available in supermarkets. This is nutmeg powder, which is easily available. I'm going to put some raisins. Those are also easily available. Evaporated milk, as we all know, is very, very easily available. I have some regular milk that I've kept on the side. I may or may not need it, so have it handy. It depends on what kind of carrots you have, how much liquid they're releasing, all of that will be dependent on that. So it does include milk in the recipe that has been listed, but you may or may not need it. I'm also going to use cashews. The recipe calls for pistachios, but I'm using cashews because I don't have pistachios right now. So that this is what I'm using, and I'm going to be using ghee, which is cow's milk ghee. This is readily available in a different box. Of course, it's in a plastic container. You can get them very easily in Costco. So no excuses for not eating ghee. It's the new superfood. If you're vegan, you can do the same thing with coconut oil. And instead of cow's milk, you can use coconut milk, you can use water, you can use any plant-based milk that you're used to. Okay, so now this is bubbling away. Just remember, I did not add any sugar to this mix when I was boiling the carrots. The last thing that I'm going to use for flavor, and this is my favorite hack, for anything that turns out to be a little too liquid, this is coconut powder, and this is unsweetened, right? So this is just dry coconut powder, very easily available in all American grocery stores, Indian supermarkets, and also in your international food aisle if you shop at a big supermarket. So this is easily available. And what this does is every time you're trying to make something that turns out to be very runny or liquidy, this is your hack. So even if you're making like apple pie filling and the liquid is all over the place and it's oozing out, you put in a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of powdered coconut, and it immediately like sucks up all of the liquid and it brings it to the right consistency. So how much of this I will use depends on how runny or how solid this is, right? So the carrots are going. When you buy this in the stores, in the sweet shops or in the confectionery stores, they always add some food coloring, and I personally find that I don't want to eat red food coloring. Like, that's not what I want. I want carrots and I want real food, right? Hi, Nalini. Welcome to Queen's Curry Kitchen. She's giving me a huge shout out saying I'm her favorite chef. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And also, Proclaim Greetings is tuning in. So, hi, Charisse. Welcome. This is a beautiful greeting card company, and the two children that Charisse has, they're just so adorable. They are the brand ambassadors for this greeting card company, and they are just most adorable. The way they stand there with the greetings, everything is handmade. It's just beautiful. All right, so this is going. I'm going to actually get the pan started, and I will put in. So some people like to fry the nuts and the dry fruits. I personally don't like to do that. Perhaps maybe I'll try that today. They say that it adds more flavor. Now this is a dessert that you can actually make ahead of time and then put it in your fridge, right? But the point that you have to make ahead is only limited to boiling everything down, and then you let it cool and you put it in the fridge. Before serving, you can actually do the final searing with ghee or add your flavor agents, or you can even bake it actually. I feel like if you bake it with unsalted butter, that would be really good too. So just before serving, you can take out whatever you need. So when carrots are in season or they're in abundance and you feel like you have all the time in the world, you can absolutely do this. Alright, so I'm going to work on the next part of the recipe, which is to create the sear. It's literally, and so in Indian cooking there is a step called bhunna, and bhunna means really to have a high heat, and basically it's the same process as you would see in a stir fry, right? So it's high heat and you're vigorously stirring something to give it a nice color and to give it to release all the flavors and seal them in. So bhunna is a very important step of Indian cooking, and for anything it adds color, it adds more depth of flavor. That's what the process of bhuning. I mean, I don't know if there's a. I don't even think there's an English word for the process. So whenever you hear an Indian recipe or you hear a mom or a grandmother, they say bhunna hai. Like, what is this bhunna? Bhunna means to have high heat and then work vigorously to add the color and to release the flavors of whatever it is that you're working on. Okay, now you can see that it's kind of. I don't know if my Facebook family can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring this over so you can actually get a good glimpse of what the consistency inside the pot is. So it's already starting to catch the bottom of the pan, the pot. And this is how liquid it is. You see this? Like it's pretty, let me see. It's pretty watery. Like, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, it's pretty watery. So here, so we are live on IG and FB at the same time, and you're just at two different levels. So I'm just making sure nobody feels left out, nobody misses out all the details. Now you can see this is not as red as what they have in the stores, right? And also remember that there is no sugar in this yet. Once we add the sugar, it's going to get caramelized. I also have a quick way to make rice puddings, etc. in an instant pot or in a slow cooker. The trick that is um, applicable to all desserts is do not add your sugar when you're boiling. That's something that you add in the very end, and that ensures that you're going to have a good. You can also have condensed milk. So if you don't want to do evaporated milk, you can absolutely do condensed milk. I'm sorry, I just had to walk over here to grab the sugar. Now also, if you are sugar free, like in my family, I'm sugar free, but my other family members eat sugar, I can actually divide this into parts or then just freeze it without any sugar, and then when I'm ready to serve it, I can make their portion separately and make mine separately. So in go the nuts. I'm going to just give it a quick sear, and I'm going to pull them out. So we are following grandmother's instructions and actually frying out the nuts, which I've actually never done for any of my dessert dishes, so this is definitely a first for me. Meanwhile, this is coming together really well. All the milk has evaporated, all the water, the liquid is evaporated. The reason I use evaporated milk is because it has a deeper taste to it, and also you don't have to wait for the milk to reduce. Somebody already did the work for you, right? I'm just gonna go in here and X out this window. Okay. Alright, so the nuts, you can actually smell the nuts in the ghee and immediately you know that it's time to take them out. It doesn't take too long, so don't leave them in there and forget about it like I got distracted and I looked away for a minute. So they tend to soften in the ghee momentarily, but when you let them rest again, they're back to being crisp again. Also, if you're freezing stuff, then it's always a good practice to fry the nuts so that there is no moisture in your halwa. Okay, so this, and you don't have to brown them, they're just in and out of the hot oil, that's all, the ghee. Okay, now this is really sticking to the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to cancel this right now because I don't want everything, I don't want the Instapot to eat the halwa. We want to eat the halwa, right? So there's already cardamom in here. What I am going to do is I'm going to gently start adding the halwa to the ghee. Right there. Ideally, I would have liked it to be a little more dry, but I'd rather sear it off in a pan and allow the moisture to evaporate than to have it stuck to this cooker. So either way, it's really a matter of preference, and it will depend on season to season, depending on what your carrots are going to do for you, what time of year it is, whether they're baby carrots or they're cello carrots or cello carrots, whatever you call them. So I've used baby carrots, but if you use a different kind of carrot, you might have a different experience. Okay, so I'm going to go in and give it a good stir. I just feel bad for my FB fam because they really cannot see inside the pan at all. So here, okay, this is what it looks like. It does release all the moisture and all the milk kind of goes and sticks to the ghee. But remember, ghee is also milk solids. Ghee is clarified butter without the milk solids, right? So on an elementary level, they're basically both the same thing. So when the milk does go and stick to that, it's not a bad sign. It just means that it's going to give you nice granules of milky taste along with the carrots. I'm going to put this away so you can get a better look at what's going on. Yep, okay. Also, a nice little hack would be that you can add your coconut powder at this stage. Also remember, we have not added the sugar yet, so it's not a dessert yet. We're still trying to get the color into it. If you use condensed milk, you will not need to add the sugar. So that step you can absolutely eliminate. You will not need that step at all. Okay, so I have some raisins, which I love in anything. I just love the combination of raisins and cashews. Mm, good stuff. They're still not that crunchy. But you know, when you fry them, they get a nice ghee flavor inside them. So when you bite into it, you don't taste the raw cashew, you actually taste the ghee. Now I'm going to go in and add the sugar. So the heat is high. If this was on a stove top, obviously it would go a lot faster. For my FB fam, I'm just trying to, let me pull this in a little bit so everybody can kind of get a glimpse of, yeah, perfect. So here it is, right? And if you feel like you need more ghee, you can add some more ghee. I just don't like to use too much ghee. So basically the idea is to just dry it out and then give it a nice rich color. So when you add the sugar too, that starts to caramelize as well. But I just eyeball everything, see? And if I need more, I'll put more. Like, who's gonna stop me, right? So my husband is not a fan of coconut in any way, so I literally have to sneak it in, and then I'm like, who are you? How you not like coconut? Like, what is wrong with you, bro? But my marriage was arranged, so I didn't know that he didn't like coconuts. I just got what I got. Yeah. 23 years. And I still feel like I'm finding out new things about him every day. Alrighty. So this is coming along. You can see that as soon as you put the coconut, it actually changes the texture a little bit and helps to suck up all the moisture that was in the pan. Now is the time to add sugar, and I'm totally going to eyeball this. If you're sugar free, you can use agave, you can use maple syrup. If you want to use Splenda, just use Splenda. And there you go. So now you're going to really go in there. As soon as you add sugar, it kind of immediately becomes a little more wet because sugar instantly melts with the heat. So whatever halwa you're making, as soon as you add the sugar, it will melt a little bit and change the texture a little bit. And that's okay. So the idea is that even the sugar will caramelize and the color will become more and more rich. Okay, I'm going to add back the cashews because I want them to cook out a little bit. Ooh, I should have saved some for garnish. Ah, my bad. Some people like to add saffron, but I feel like just cardamom and a little hint of nutmeg is more than what you need on any given day. Okay, now, nutmeg 101. A lot of people ask me, like, why do you have to have nutmeg? Why do you use nutmeg in Indian desserts? So, I came up with a very cool analogy, and I think it's really cool, so I pat myself on the back for that. So, nutmeg to Indian desserts is what vanilla is to American desserts, right? So, just like if you were making a chocolate milkshake, you would put some vanilla. Same way, whenever you're making an Indian sweet which is milk based, whether it's kulfi, whether it's kheer, and you add a little hint of nutmeg, it just gives it that depth of flavor. So nutmeg is the vanilla of Indian desserts, not cardamom, but nutmeg. And nutmeg is the X factor of your milk-based desserts in Indian cuisine, whether it be ice cream, whether it's halwa, whatever it is, just that hint of nutmeg. Even in like a rice pudding or kheer, there's always a hint of nutmeg, and that is the vanilla. So, like I said, if you're making iced coffee for your kids, put a little vanilla in it, and you'll see the difference in the taste of the iced coffee. So, vanilla is what milk equates to in Western desserts, and nutmeg is what milk or cream equates to in Indian desserts, not cardamom. Okay, so you can see this is coming together really nicely. And you better have a non-stick pan for this, okay? So you're going to take just a pinch of nutmeg. You see how tiny a pinch is? Like it's literally a pinch. Just that. A pinch. And just make sure nothing is extra. And you're going to add it right there. The cardamom was already added to this when we created the Instapot boil. Now what I'm doing right now, this is what is called bhuning something, right? So bhuning means that there's enough oil in the pan and the heat is high and you're constantly stirring till something comes together to the consistency that you want, and it also releases the color. Now I think this is really screaming for a little more ghee. So In the winter time, this dessert is eaten quite frequently. But because in a large family, it's a labor of love to actually manually grate all the carrots. Most people just like to make a big batch of it and then use it whenever. But if you have, if you live out in the country where women are homebound and they have a lot of time, and you have carrots growing in your fields, then like 3, 4 families would come together, and all the women will do the labor-intensive work, but everybody will enjoy the fruits of the labor. So I added just a little bit of ghee, and I think ghee is the thing that adds that final flourish. So the more dry it is, the better it's going to be. Right now it's fully cooked, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little more coconut powder just to help the texture get along. It is a lengthy procedure to do it the old-fashioned way, but I'm the queen of hacks. I'm also the queen from Queens, but I'm also the queen of hacks. So I use coconut powder, and I take the help of that just to get it done. Otherwise, we'll be standing here all day. I don't think you want to see me all day. I don't think so, right? I'm sure you have something else to do with your time. Alrighty. So this is gonna keep going. And you can add less nuts, more nuts, whatever you want, pistachios, cashews, cranberries, depending on what season it is. And you see, like, as it keeps drying, it starts to come together towards the middle of the pan, right? Now, in a lot of Indian families, they also add something called milk solids, which actually looks like, how do I explain it? It's called khoya. And what it is, it's just a coagulation of milk solids that has the texture of, it has a texture between mozzarella cheese and a block of Parmigiano, but it tastes just purely of milk. So if milk was actually evaporated to the power of 1,000 and you just had milk in a solid form instead of liquid, that's what khoya would be. And it's basically just done by searing it overnight and reducing the liquids in the milk. So just like ghee is clarified butter without the milk solids, the khoya is actually just the milk solids. Yeah, it's a very highly evolved science with all these milk products that form the base of a lot of Indian desserts, right? So a lot of people actually add that because they hand crumble it and add it into this because it adds a nice textural quality to it. I personally feel like with the nuts and the raisins, it's textural enough, and I'm not a big fan of khoya. Also, to use this much, I don't feel like buying an entire block and then having it be lost in the freezer, so I don't really buy it as much. But there are people that make khoya in their microwave with milk powder and ghee, and then they just nuke it for 2 minutes or something, and then yeah, there's a way to do it. I know there's a YouTube video out there for something like that. Oh, by the way, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. I'm on YouTube as Queen's Curry Kitchen, and everything that you see in these live videos is actually also there. So you can actually share, you can follow, you can subscribe to the channel. Let your friends know that this is a good source where you can learn some good vegetarian Indian food made in an urban setting. Ain't nobody got time to stand all day over a stove and make Indian food, right? But of course, if you order my spices, you'll be done with Indian food in a New York minute, right? Anyway, all the spice information, all the classes, the books, everything is on the website, so I don't need to tell you that again and again. Feel free to go there and support a small business. The website is www.queenscurrykitchen.com. And this week is free samples week, so you can actually DM me, and I will be sending out free samples of the chai masala, of the chili pickle. Oops, the chili pickle, the long hot and Thai chili pickle that we did. I don't know if you can see, right? So all the pictures are on the Instagram feed. They're also on Facebook. Just go and check it out. And if you want samples, just send me a DM. This is smelling so heavenly right now with the cardamom and the sugar caramelizing. Now the coconut is also getting roasted as I keep stirring this in together. And it's coming together really nicely. Whatever is sticking to the sides of the pan, just gently take that as well and blend it into your main halwa. So you know that when it's constantly sticking and you're constantly releasing it, then it's coming together. And that's where the color is also changing. You see how orange this color is from the white when we first started out? Unfortunately, the color of my pan and the color of my halwa is very similar, but with the nutmeg, I kid you not, it just smells incredibly, incredibly great. And I can only imagine a nice scoop of ice cream, cold ice cream with like a nice hot bowl of halwa. That's like a match made in heaven. And I would totally do this in a heartbeat on any given day. I think my husband will be very happy today because he loves a little sweet after his dinner. Don't ask me why, but he just likes it. And every day after dinner, he says, "What's for dessert?" So, ta-da! So you can see like a pound of carrots really gets reduced down to just that, right? It is definitely a labor of love, and I've taught you the shortcut, the hack with using the coconut milk, with using your Instapot or slow cooker. So this is definitely the shortcut method of doing it. I hope you will give this a try, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If it added any value to your skills, please feel free to share it, save it, and of course the YouTube channel that I already told you about. You're welcome to subscribe to it. Like always, thank you so much for joining me in my kitchen. It really brings me a lot of joy to share the love of Indian foods and flavors with you. And I just wanted to say thank you for your support because it means everything to me. So thank you so much. Until the next one, be blissful, be flavorful, and join me again tomorrow at noon as I come here and do something else. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is the day when I will do the reveal on the chickpeas that I soaked for sprouting, and I will share some hacks of how I did it at home. It's just super duper simple. So I will definitely share some tips and tricks on how you can do that and eat healthy and eat immuno boosting foods right here at home without busting your budget. Until tomorrow, be blissful, be flavorful, and don't forget to check out the Queen's Curry Kitchen on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Wherever you want to find me, you can find me there. And if you saw something that you had questions on, feel free to send me a DM. If you want to collaborate on something, send me a DM. We could work together. Anyway, with that, I'm going to take your leave. I hope you have a sweet rest of the day. I know I will have a sweet evening with this dessert. I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Namaste. Love you all. And thank you again for being with me in my kitchen in Queens. Thank you so much.